From New York to Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America, extreme rainfall and flooding are disrupting communities across multiple regions this August. Here's where the latest threats are developing. The meteorological triggers behind these events span the entire spectrum of weather phenomena. We're seeing everything from slow-moving tropical waves to intense monsoon troughs. But while the atmospheric causes vary wildly from continent to continent, the sheer volume of water falling simultaneously is testing the physical limits of human engineering. When millions of gallons of water drop onto concrete and saturated soil in a matter of hours, it stops being a weather event and starts being a hydraulic one. The focus shifts from the sky to the ground, to the specific path that volume takes when the drains are already full. We begin in Asia, an active monitoring zone right now, where several nations are bracing for incoming impacts before the rain even peaks. In Thailand, meteorological authorities are tracking a strengthening depression off Hainan Island. While the storm won't hit Thailand directly, it is pulling a strong monsoon across the region. Officials have already issued flash flood and rapid runoff warnings across 21 provinces. Further north, the situation is more direct. China has activated a Level 4 emergency response as Typhoon Narra approaches the southern coast, specifically targeting Guangdong, Guangxi, and Hainan with heavy to torrential rainfall. Across the continent, Pakistan is managing fresh monsoon threats. The National Meteorological Department has issued explicit warnings of imminent urban flooding as saturated cities prepare for another deluge. This is partly because the Indus River is already reaching a moderate flood stage. With the river basin sitting high, the baseline risk for surrounding areas is elevated. Any additional rainfall will spill over immediately. Facing massive hydrological threats, early warning systems and preventative evacuations act as the necessary first line of defense. When water levels rise this fast, getting people out of the way is the only reliable mitigation. Moving to Africa, we see the shift from preventative warnings to the chaotic reality of active disaster zones. In Sierra Leone, Freetown was hit by 6 consecutive hours of exceptionally heavy rainfall on August 3rd. The resulting flash floods damaged hundreds of houses, displaced thousands, and triggered severe soil erosion across densely populated hillsides. The sheer intensity of the rain completely overwhelmed Freetown's drainage systems. The water rapidly bypassed mitigation channels, leading directly to these structural and slope failures. Over in Cameroon's far north region, the flooding is compounding a separate crisis. Heavy rains are destroying water points and sanitation services, actively accelerating a severe pre-existing cholera outbreak among refugees and border communities. And in Somalia, authorities are closely monitoring critical river breakages along the Shabelle River, where weakened banks are directly threatening nearby agricultural populations. Whether it's inadequate drainage or weakened riverbanks, or an active health crisis, pre-existing vulnerabilities act as threat multipliers. They take the destructive baseline of a flood and magnify its cost. Crossing the Atlantic to the Americas, we find a complex mix of active weather events impacting highly developed urban centers and vulnerable coastal regions alike. In New York, severe thunderstorms dumped inches of rain in a matter of hours, triggering sudden flash flooding and even spinning up localized tornadoes. Despite aggressive advance warnings and mobilized resources from Governor Hochul's office, the storms severely disrupted travel, canceling hundreds of flights and flooding subway stations. Prediction does not equal immunity when the water actually falls. Looking towards Central America, meteorologists are tracking a sequence of tropical waves 31, 32, and 33, generating continuous rainfall and threatening Costa Rica and Panama. These meteorological concerns are spreading further south, dragging ongoing weather patterns and moisture down into Colombia and Chile. What New York and these southern coastal regions share is a hard truth about engineering. Even highly developed, well-funded urban infrastructure systems cannot withstand the sheer volume of these very localized, intense downpours. To see what happens after the sirens stop and the floodwaters recede, we have to look to Afghanistan. Weeks after the July floods in Nuristan province, the region is navigating a persistent humanitarian crisis. The immediate surge destroyed homes and public bridges, but the lasting consequence is shattered agricultural infrastructure. With farming capabilities wiped out and aid systems critically overstretched, the local population is facing a protracted struggle to survive. The hardest phase begins once the water recedes, the years-long process of reclaiming ruined soil and rebuilding aid networks that were already at their breaking point. Across these diverse regions, the contrast between those taking preventative action and those dealing with immediate fallout highlights a recurring pattern. These disasters are happening in very different countries, but they share one dangerous ingredient: intense rainfall meeting vulnerable communities, infrastructure, and drainage systems. And with more severe weather still developing in parts of Asia and the Americas, the flood story is far from over.